I'd like to speak in favor of the Garrett substitute amendment to H.R. 3795. The legislation that Mr. Garrett wants to substitute empowers, or really the underlying legislation empowers the federal government to create a complex and sweeping new regulatory regime to govern a sector of the marketplace that has functioned for the most part well and helped most American companies weather the financial crisis and insulated them from uncertain market conditions and minimize their risk. A new regulatory structure that relies on a problematic joint rulemaking by the SEC and the CFTC, all while being backstopped by the Treasury Department, will do nothing more than help create marketplace uncertainty in uncertain economic times. Furthermore, many end users will be forced by the regulators to post significant capital and margin in order to hedge everyday business risks that they have taken for decades through the over-the-counter marketplace without loss. These costly requirements will drain companies of badly needed resources at a time when they are attempting to recover from the worst recession in recent history. Less capital means less funds to hire new employees or to call back employees that have been laid off. The Garrett Amendment, on the other hand, allows for a common-sense approach to oversight of the over-the-counter derivatives marketplace without calling for excessive overreach by the federal government into our capital markets. And that overreach, unfortunately, has been repeated many times in this hearing room over the past several months and will undoubtedly reach a new crescendo later this week as we mark up the Financial Products Approval Agency legislation. The Republican substitute offered by Mr. Garrett promotes strong transparency of over-the-counter derivatives actively conducted by all market participants. The substitute also addresses the source of the problems identified by the majority in the administration, AIG, Bear, and Lehman, and companies like those. The isolated behavior of those corporations whose derivatives trading activities and positions would have been detected under the Republican substitute, or for that matter, as Mr. Garrett said, by proper regulation that was already in place, is not an excuse to impose an expensive, intrusive, and overly burdensome regulatory regime on an otherwise well-functioning marketplace and market participants. The Garrett substitute holds dealers accountable to improve operational inefficiencies with the over-the-counter derivatives marketplace, provides vital transactional information to regulators on a real-time basis, and ensures that Treasury cannot become de facto regulator. Additionally, and most importantly, the Republican substitute offered by the gentleman from New Jersey does not punish corporate end users. This substitute addresses the real needs of the derivative marketplace, which is to provide timely and accurate information to regulators in order to ensure market transparency and continued safe functioning over-the-counter markets and ensure the safety and soundness of the institutions they regulate. Mr. Chairman, in conclusion, we have to curb the abuses of the past and promote responsible approaches to oversee the use of the over-the-counter derivatives. And in that regard, I appreciate your intent. However, I believe that H.R. 3795 is a fundamentally wrong approach to accomplishing that goal. There is a better approach, and that's the one offered by Mr. Garrett. I urge my colleagues to join me in supporting the Garrett substitute, which recognizes the strengths of today's business environment, one that has created the largest economy in the world by over 3 times bigger than the next largest economy, created unparalleled wealth and prosperity for American citizens for years, and provides thousands of American companies with the necessary freedom to safely use a carefully monitored over-the-counter derivative marketplace without unwarranted and burdensome imposition of additional or excessive government regulation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.